Let's talk tonight a little bit about miasms, and here's why. I've been looking at different observations on the Facebook sites and different questions that people are putting in and different playlists that they're asking for and requesting. And I've been seeing quite a few that are like, well, my relative has this form of cancer. What can we do for a playlist? And my brother has some eczema or psoriasis, and what can we do for a playlist? I have a cousin that has a bunch of allergies. What can we do for a playlist? I have a client that has some Alzheimer's or dementia, and I want to be able to support them. What can we do for a playlist? And I really think playlists are very valuable, especially since they help with frequencies that have to do with emotions. But I wanted to point out that you have a very valuable tool in your scanner in that you have the ability to scan different areas of the body that are related to what the person is concerned about. And then you are able to go to that body part in your reports under comprehensive and see what miasms come up. Now, why is this going to be something that's important? Well, because in the field of homeopathy, Hahnemann, when he was going through developing homeopathy and proving the cure for different problems that people had, noticed that he could get to a certain point with helping them with like curing like and having things work. But there seemed to be elusive traits, elusive themes, as you will, that were in different people's family lines. And so he kept investigating and looking into it and working with it. And in the field of homeopathy, from his research and his work, came the field of miasms. And miasms have an effect on different family lines generationally. And so miasms are very important because the definition and origin of miasms is in a family line where somebody in the family line has had a certain disease. And then energetically, that puts a dent on the DNA, on the person's genetic traits that can then surface in the different family lines. Miasms in a family line are kind of like railroad spikes. They're something that when the person either has exposure to something environmentally, or has it where their immune system drops, or has exposure to something of a viral nature or bacterial nature, molds, funguses, chemicals, heavy metals, things like that, it can trigger this tendency that is in the family line. And it can start to show up in them, manifest in them as something physically that needs to be addressed. So here you see a picture of uh, where the DNA can be affected by these different miasms. You have the one with tuberculosis. You have the one with syphilis. You have the one psychosis that comes from gonorrhea in a family line. And all of these can be something that ends up coming through on a family line as a weakness. And think of it. You know, families where everybody in the family line seems to have heart disease, or you have a family line where everybody seems to have a lot of cases of cancer. Or maybe you have a family line where there's a lot of people with dementia or Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, something of that nature, or a combination of these type things. A lot of these can be traced back to genetics having had diseases like tuberculosis, gonorrhea, and syphilis in the family line, which then leans them energetically towards these different conditions that can manifest as disease states farther down the family line.
Okay, don't worry. We're just breaking in for a second. Deb's not done yet. Just hang tight. Our DOD, our Day of Discovery, is almost sold out, but we have a deal that we want to make something sweet for you.
Yes, in fact, Deb Bruce is going to be at
She
DOD,
is.
and if you love learning, this is the place to come in September. But we're going to sweeten it, like Shelby said. And if you bought a ticket from May 1st through August 31st, or until tickets sell out, we're going to give you a $50 in-store credit to use at the event.
Not bad.
That is one per account.
Yep.
So if you buy multiple tickets, and some of you do, you don't get to stack them. You get one $50 credit that you use only at the event.
But do you have a downline?
Now we have something, again, that we've never done before.
Yes.
Because we like to have so much fun, and because we want to reward you for making your way out to Utah, we just love having a great time together. And if you've ever been to one of these events, you know we love having a great time together. So this is going to make it even better. Bring your directs, bring your people, because
People that you have sponsored.
yes, anybody that you have sponsored, whether it's a preferred customer or whether it's a Quantum Living advocate, right? If they buy a ticket, if they bought a ticket, anybody of your directs that has bought a ticket from September of 2025 through the end of ticket sales, you as the direct sponsor to that person will get a $10 credit in the store.
So bring 10 people, get $100.
$100.
What happens if they bring 100 people?
$1,000, right? But you have to have all those directs. You get one per account. So if your direct stack tickets, you're only going to get one.
Yeah.
But that is something we've never done before. And what does that encourage, right? We're encouraging you guys to come as groups, to have a great time together, to have so much fun. And for the leader that's encouraging their directs to be aware of this opportunity, obviously we're going to reward you for doing that, to gathering together, to going through the effort and research to help them make their way to Utah in September and have a wonderful time with us. We'll have a great time together.
We will. And don't sleep on this one, because once they're gone, we cut it off. It's over. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to us. Back to Deb.
So, why is it important with your scanner to look at the things that are on the DNA energetically from these different diseases from past generations, 3, 4, 5 generations ago? It's very, very important, because each one of them lends itself to specific traits manifesting down the line in family lines. So here we have that tuberculosis. It's in the family line and shows up as a predisposition to psoriasis, eczema, skin eruptions, rashes, upper respiratory issues, bronchitis, allergies, pneumonia. Any of these things, it can show up as down the family line. Syphilis. Syphilis can show up in family lines and predispose future generations to things like Alzheimer's, dementia, nervous tics, seizures, bipolar, MS, Parkinson's, tremors, different things. Anything that of a neurological state is degenerative. And so this is something that can show up in the people that you're working with or in your own family line. How about gonorrhea? Gonorrhea has ones that people really are concerned about. Gonorrhea can predispose family lines to things like skin tags, warts, cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, osteopenia, heart issues, plaquing of the arteries, kidney stones, gallstones, cataracts, ADHD, all things of this nature that are kind of a sped up nature. And we know that a lot of these are ones that are showing up in society at an increased rate now due to different exposure to different foods, different environmental exposures, different things that are triggering where people are starting to have this show up more and more. And then there's carcinosis, and that is one where it's one of the more general miasms, but it can also show up in families as rare forms of cancers. So the value that you have in your scanner is that any organ, gland, or system that shows up as having a 1 or having a 9 on that particular organ, gland, or system is at the far ends energetically, frequency wise. And this deserves a look into the lists in your reports as far as the miasms. Because what you can do then is you can look and see, are they leaning energetically towards some of these problems? Or if they've already manifested some of the problems and been diagnosed with them, you can help energetically to support them, put scaffolding on them, so to speak, frequency wise, and help them with something that has actually gotten to the point where physically it is no longer just a frequency in the family line, but has manifested as an actual state, and they had been diagnosed. So here we have an example of a report for somebody. And under miasms, look at how much you could find out about what that particular person is possibly leaning towards energetically or what you could help them with. You have the liver coming up with gonorrhea. That's the one that lends itself towards possible cancers. So maybe there's some problems starting to show up with the liver, and they need to detox the liver and do some work with the liver in order to get it to where this frequency no longer shows up when you're testing them. You have the nerves of the lower body showing up for tuberculinum in somebody. It's really interesting that with eczema and rashes and tuberculosis in a family line, that oftentimes they will just show up when they're under a lot of stress or have had an immune system dysfunction. A lot of times the body tries to push things out the skin as an escape hatch. So somebody that has this in their family line will start showing up with skin rashes, with eczema, with psoriasis, things of this nature. And you'd be able to see that the nervous system has been aggravated to the point that this is starting to happen. Here you have where tuberculosis is coming up under the liver vessels. Tuberculinum bovinum is interesting in that back in Europe, there was a time where a lot of the dairy farmers had tuberculosis on the cows' teats when they were milking them, and it would get into the dairy products. And then a family member would get tuberculosis, and then the dent would go down through the family lines from that. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of the people that show up for tuberculinum bovinum also have a problem with dairy. A lot of times they have a sensitivity to dairy or have to exclude dairy from their eating every day completely because of having an intolerance for dairy. You see here, the heart was coming under tuberculosis, the lungs were coming under gonorrhea, the heart was also under the tuberculinum bovinum. The lymphatics were under tuberculinum bovinum. And then the pancreas was coming up under gonorrhea as well. Now, it's interesting with the pancreas coming up under gonorrhea because think of the things that come up under the psychosis gonorrhea miasm. You have things like diabetes, heart disease, cancers. Well, think of the pancreas. Somebody that's having an issue with that particular genetic energetically may have hypoglycemia. They may have a history in the family of pancreatic cancer. It may be that they have people just cousins or different ones that have problems with diabetes or hypoglycemia or have had cases of cancer. Maybe they've been tested and they have wide swings with their insulin. And so all of these things, when you look in your scanner and you look at your reports, you can start to find things under miasms that actually can give you really valuable information on and the ability to help them with this. So, what do you do when you find the miasms in your report? Well, you have a lot of things that you can use to be proactive. Like Lauren always says, make sure that you're doing the inner voice with them for the emotions that might be affecting the area. And then another one that's really powerful is to have them do positive statements in mind sync for whatever part of the body is actually undergoing any kind of difficulty. Your comprehensive is going to have your reports that show if the miasms are present. And then vitals is going to have a lot of information for that particular body part as well. Supplementation, testing for supplementation to see what they need to support the area that shows up for the miasm. And then you have energy homeoenergetics in Cephi, and that you can go to psychosis or syphilinum or go to serenum, psychosis, or syphilinum for the three miasms, and you can actually make a remedy for someone and imprint it into whatever you want to imprint it in. Do it into purified water and brandy, purified water and organic vodka, put it into sugar pills, and actually have them be able to take the remedy and start working with it. And then if you've gone through phase 3, you know that you have the ability to actually customize those frequencies for them. You can go in homeoenergetics to the organ glandular system that showed up for the miasm and have the brain scan the top remedies for that particular area. And any one of them that shows up with the proper numbers and percentages, you can customize an actual remedy for them with the psychosis DT, the syphilinum DT, or the serenum DT, or the carcinosi DT. And so you also, with body systems or with the things that show up in the report, have the ability to talk to them about lifestyle changes that they may need to make in order to help with the miasm that is showing up. So your comprehensive report has got so many areas that can help with areas being affected by miasms and also with working with the miasms themselves. Like we mentioned with inner voice and mind sync, you can look at your list of emotions in the report and customize your mind sync recording to listen to based on the emotions. The miasms themselves are in the report. And then all of these other areas can be areas that actually, where energetically, if they've been coming up for a while, they could have triggered somebody into showing that the miasms are starting to be activated. So this is in all the categories, but this is some of the main ones that you can work with in conjunction with the miasms in order to help people with these things that are coming through on the family line. So here again, everybody in their family line has something that they're leaning towards, okay? But you see the man here who's obviously aging well, healthy, smile on his face. And so, working with the miasms, working with the causes of the miasms, working with the emotions that might be influencing the miasms, using mind sync, body systems, using vitals, all the things that you have access to in your scanner, it actually makes it where you can help people age with minimal effects from the genetics that are less than favorable that are on their DNA. Just because the genetic dent is there on their DNA doesn't doom them to have to get something. All you've got to do is keep it where they are straightened up from it rather than constantly leaning towards it or toppling into it because of things that they are being exposed to, eating, lifestyle changes, chemicals, all the different things that can compromise the immune system and allow those particular miasms to come forward energetically. So look to your comprehensive reports under miasms for the different body parts that you scan. And by all means, use your playlists, but also look to directly working with the things in your scanner that can straighten people up from and have a major impact energetically on those miasms starting to reduce or even disappear from their comprehensive results.